Hello and welcome back to the Finding Your Feet podcast, a podcast show dedicated to helping you get closer to your true authentic self by helping you find your feet in life. Welcome back to season 2, episode 7.
Today we're going to be talking all about breakups, as we just feel like there is so much to learn around breakups, and it's a time where people really seek guidance, seek inspiration. So we're going to put a positive spin on it, so then if this ever happens to you or if you're ever upset, you can come to this episode and we're going to give you lots of inspiration.
Yeah, there's so many of the girls in our community that are going through a breakup at the minute and have told us about it and wanted advice. That was a little bit of the inspiration for this episode, but it's also something we've wanted to discuss anyway, because it's definitely part of the experience of finding your feet in life. It's a very character building experience, and you learn a lot about yourself through it. So that's also why we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's going to be a really good one. But before we begin, we've got our review of the week, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to butcher it and offend you, but if you're listening, then thank you. It says, "Amazing. This is definitely a fantastic podcast to listen to, especially during these times." So, we're always providing the inspiration during these crazy pandemic times.
Yeah, when we all need it the most.
Yeah, so thank you for the review.
Yeah, thank you so much for leaving that review and taking the time to share your feedback with us. So before we start the episode, I just need everybody to stop what they're doing, unlock their phones, go onto Apple Podcasts and go to our show, scroll down until you get to the review section and click that write a review button and leave us some feedback, because we absolutely love hearing what you have to say about the show. It helps us develop the show. It helps us grow it, knowing what you love and what you don't. So please go on there and share your thoughts with us for your chance to be featured in next week's review of the week.
So as we said, we're going to be talking all about breakups today. And our main message within this is that anyone that's been through a breakup, you know that your world may feel like it's literally falling apart, but there is so much to learn from a breakup, and so much kind of clarity will come afterwards, because we were discussing before that after a breakup is really a crucial time, I think, within your self-development, because it's a time to really look inward, because you've just lost someone and you're kind of going through a process, and the only person you have is yourself. Like, no matter what, you really have to pick yourself back up and you have to build that relationship with yourself. So there's so much to learn regarding breakups, and there's such, they're always considered quite a negative thing, I think, but you can look at them in a really positive way.
Yeah, definitely. Through any difficult time, there's always great opportunity in it. As much as you would not want to hear that when you've just gone through a fresh breakup, you're probably thinking, what the hell are you talking about? But during the most difficult times is when you grow the most. And yeah, like you said, it really, you just become literally on your own. So all you can do is look inwards and start to fill yourself up with the love that you used to give and receive to that other person you now don't have. You have to feel that within yourself, which can be quite hard to do at first, but it's a very empowering thing to do. And once you do it once, then once you go through that experience once of where you really develop that strong bond with yourself and that self-love and that really strong independence in who you are, then you kind of are okay for the rest of your life. And when it comes around again, if you have another breakup, because obviously people do go through this experience multiple times in their life, you are much more well equipped to deal with it because you've already got a really strong relationship with you. So even out of the pain of it, a lot of beauty can come in the growth and the strength that you can develop.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in the sense of building that relationship with yourself, because like you said, you've always got something to come back to then. Like, once you've been through it once and you've really worked on building that relationship and comforting yourself, that's probably the main thing. At least you know at the end of the day that no matter what happens, if you go through another breakup or if you lose someone, you've always got yourself. And that's why it's really crucial to kind of work on yourself after a breakup. And we're going to talk a bit as well about not distracting yourself so much, because it's very easy to just distract yourself and kind of try and mask the pain. But we're going to talk about really practical tips that can really help you heal from a relationship and heal from a breakup, because it is a time where you need a lot of healing.
Yeah. And it is 100% just part of your life experience. Like, it's a breakup is something you can't really avoid unless you're one of those people who literally is with the same partner that you've always been with for the rest of your life, and you're never going to experience like a broken heart. But for most people, that isn't the case. And you date different people, you go out with different people in your life, and they don't always work out. So it's kind of like an inevitable, painful experience that we all at some point go through in our lives, because otherwise because if you're like out there and you're like dating and you're putting yourself out there with other people, then it's just an inevitable thing that's going to happen. Like you literally can't avoid it unless, like I said, you are with the same person that you've always been with. So yeah, I feel like just even knowing that as well, I think probably when you're in such a really tough breakup, you can feel very much like your pain is like the worst in the world, and it can just run so deep how much it hurts. But even just knowing that actually this is something that every single person in the world goes through at some point is kind of comforting as well.
Yeah, I think there's so much comfort in that, especially when you're feeling such despair and you just feel like you just can't see like an end to like this kind of like sadness from a breakup. I think, yeah, like I said, knowing that everyone has been through it to some degree, and it really, really does build who you are as a person.
Mm.
But as well, I think like I'm just thinking in my head like why breakups suck so much, and I think it is just because it's such a shock to the system. Like whether you've seen it coming or not, it's such like an undoing process. Once you get used to having someone in your life, you're just used to them being there. They almost become part of like who you are. And as well, if you've been with them for a long time, sometimes they can become part of your identity, who you show up as, whether that's good or bad reasons. It does take a lot of undoing, and you do become codependent on someone you're in a relationship with, whether you like it or not, and whether it's like a healthy level or not. You do become quite codependent. So I think when a breakup comes, it is just a shock to everything you used to. So the main thing is obviously give yourself time. We're going to give you many tips, but don't forget to give yourself time, because it is quite a shocking time, and something it can be quite distressing to go through, to be honest.
Yeah, people literally like I feel like it's one of the most distressing things that people like go through in their life. And I feel like it's especially difficult like your first breakup, or when you're young. And this is the Finding Your Feet podcast, so we're always speaking about, I know we actually have listeners that are actually a lot older than we are, but it's definitely a more painful experience when you're younger. And it's, like I said before, like if you deal with the first one well and like do the work afterwards, like the inner, like looking inwards and doing self-love work, and dealing with the breakup and kind of like letting go of it, then you'll be better equipped to deal with it later in your life. But yeah, I feel like when we're young, so late teens, early 20s, that's probably around the time if you have your first breakup and it's with someone maybe you've been with for a couple of years or whatever, and it's the first person you've ever loved and it's the first breakup you ever had. I feel like it's so much harder also because that stage of your life is quite a vulnerable stage of your life, because you kind of think that you're like an adult and that you know everything and that you're all good, but actually you don't properly know yourself yet. And there's definitely, it's a really crucial time where you have to kind of figure out who you are, learn who you are, really develop that relationship with yourself. Like it's usually around like that age of life is usually either when you've gone to university, or if it's a bit later, you've moved out and you're away from home, and it's all these different feelings, and you kind of like, yeah, it's just a time when you really have to start to learn who you are. And I think even if you've not been with somebody and you've just been single that whole time, you would have experienced the same thing of your early 20s of just kind of like grasping who you are, what are your values, what are you about. And I feel like when you have a relationship breakup around that same time as well, it just, because you don't fully know yourself yet, it just stings so much more, if that makes sense.
No, I know what you mean. It is a tough time, especially that first breakup. But then I do think as well, breakups obviously they help you, like you were saying, when you're kind of in that stage of your life and you're deciding kind of who you are and who you want to show up as. I think breakups are actually really beneficial to kind of know your boundaries and what you tolerate and everything like that. Because I know for a fact, well, I know for a fact that we always bang on about how everything happens for a reason. I think you meet everyone for an exact reason. So if you're listening to this now and you've been through some breakups and you felt like it was really unfair and you really felt like the victim, try and switch that mindset and think you definitely would have learned something from that breakup. Like, what did you really learn from it? Just have a little think about it. Because I know for a fact, so like I went through 2 breakups, and from both of them, I learned really different things. But the main thing is that I learned is what I will not tolerate. So that is just so beneficial, even though it's quite an early stage for me to like learn those things. I know now that I've taken so much from those breakups, and even they were both quite bad breakups, but I've taken so much from them. So if you're struggling to see the positive in breakups that you have been through, or if you're in the midst of one right now, have a think about what you're learning and like why they left your life, because there will be an exact reason why they left and you just might not be able to see it yet. But I think connecting with like your inner self and your inner guidance, that's really going to help you see, like, set your boundaries and see why someone has left your life.
Yes, that's great advice. I think what's going to be interesting about this episode is that me and you both have very different experiences, where you've just said you've gone through 2 bad breakups in your life, and just for like context of people listening, you're 23, I'm 24, so we're both still very young. So you've experienced 2 in your young years, whereas I have dated people but never had a serious relationship. So I've never actually experienced a serious breakup or really feeling like my heart's been broken. But I still feel like I've gone through that transitional time of your early 20s, where you kind of like move away from home and you're an adult, and you're living that more independent life, and the stuff that comes up and how you really do have to just get to know yourself. I feel like we're both gonna come at this with like different angles, because we both had such a different experience but still had quite a similar outcome, in that regardless of what's happened to both of us, we've still had to spend the time to really get to know ourselves, looking inwards, building self-love, building a really good bond with ourselves, and figuring out who we are.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's really nice as well that we've both had different experiences, because I know I can always come to you for like that inner reassurance. And then if you ever come to it with some kind of breakup drama, I know you can always come to me. So it's good that we both have like very similar views, and I think we're both at a very similar place in the way we've worked on ourselves. But like you said, it's like everyone's journey is so different. So yeah, I think it's the different journeys which make it special.
Yeah.
So after a breakup, it's so important that you spend time just like really working on yourself and not so much distracting yourself from the pain. Whether you like it or not, you become reliant on them and the relationship. And then when it's ended, you just feel all lost. And I feel like even though you may have good self-worth, it's kind of a little bit all over the place. You're not really sure where you stand with different things. And I think this is such a crucial time to just really build that relationship back with yourself. We're going to go into many tips on how you can do this, but it is just so important to, even though having friends around you, having family, having support is so important, we just can't stress enough how much you have to be your own best friend and be your own love, and like work on your self-love to really heal from the inside.
Yeah, I think so many people do put their worth in that other person, even if they like consciously choose to do it or not, especially when you're young and it's like your first relationship. I feel like just the lack of knowledge, experience and maturity within relationships, because this is the first one you've experienced, you just do that. And yeah, that's why the breakup afterwards can be so hard, because you've got to kind of like build yourself back up again. But what I was saying before about, even if you've spent your early 20s not in a serious relationship where you've done that, I feel like you still have to kind of do the work to kind of build yourself up anyway, because it's quite an insecure, vulnerable time, like as you transition into becoming a young adult and just finding your feet and figuring out who you are. You still have to do that. So I feel like sometimes breakups are like a catalyst for people to do that, but I feel like just generally it's actually something that we all have to go through and is actually incredibly important to our like personal growth and our journey to like through life, and experiencing it in a more positive way and becoming more of the person we want to be, achieving the things that we want to do. Yeah, I feel like it's an important piece of work that whether you've had a breakup or not, you kind of just have to do it.
Yeah, I really like what you said there as well about it being like a catalyst. Wait, is that how you say it? Catalyst?
Yeah.
A catalyst, because I feel like I know so many people that have been through a really rough breakup and then they just like flourish, like
Mm,
caterpillar into a butterfly, like literally flourish. Because I think you have like two choices. You can either just like feel sorry for yourself for ages, or you can literally turn your pain into power, and all the discomfort
mm,
and all like the loneliness and everything like that, just sitting with it and just kind of acknowledging it, journaling through it, everything like that. Out the other side, you're gonna feel so much better. It literally is that turning your pain into a power.
love that. Turn your pain into power. That is so powerful.
It's my new affirmation. Actually, I've been saying it all the time,
Oh my God. I love it.
especially during a workout. So we're also just going to touch on toxic relationships, as I know there may be some people listening that they might have just been through a breakup, or they might be debating it, they might be just thinking about it. But there's so many toxic traits that can come from relationships, and you might not even realize it, but they can be signs that it's really not right. So, for example, if you're in a relationship and maybe you've split up quite a few times and the relationship is very high and low, like you might argue quite a lot, but then I think it always seems that the lows make the highs so much more intense. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's
Mm,
like an adrenaline kick, but it's something that
yeah.
happens, yeah, within like toxic relationships. And the low can go really low. So then when the high comes, it feels even higher. It's like you're never at a balanced level. You're always at like this either like over the top happiness, which is kind of fake anyway, or you're at a really low. And this can become really, really addictive. And this is how people get stuck in toxic relationships. So
Mm,
these are the kind of signs you have to notice in a relationship. If you're really experiencing big highs and big lows, it's probably not right, and there is probably something you should do about it.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely got some sort of like addictive thing with it being that kind of dynamic, because that is the dynamic that people like always get trapped in and cling on to, like Florence Given says, like this person's kind of giving you crumbs, there's constant lows, and then for one moment, on a rare time, they give you the whole cake, and then they take it back, and then they give you crumbs for 99% of the time, and you feel so amazing when you're getting the whole cake that
Mm.
one time, that you like justify all the lows because you're like, yeah, but when it's good, it's so good. But actually, if you just kind of like, I don't know, I guess the chemicals in your brain, you're just not being rational at all, and you're not looking at it clearly. And the general over like, if you like evaluate the whole relationship, what you're actually getting out of it, you get the majority is like negativity, and that's when you just need to walk away.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think as well, when it comes to a breakup, you can easily ignore the bad things. You know, like you just said, like you'll think, oh, but they've done this and it's really nice, and you kind of idolize someone maybe after a breakup. Like, say if you don't want to necessarily break up with them, you kind of idolize them and you gather together all the good things about them and completely ignore all the negative things, even though they're very apparent. Like you just completely push them back to the back of your mind. And I think
Mm,
that's as well why it's very important to have friends for guidance, because we are going to talk about this, but having people that aren't so much in the emotions and the kind of adrenaline of the relationship, they're going to help you have much more level head, and they're going to help you realize that you might just be focusing on the really good things and ignoring all the negative things. And as well, one tip that my friend gave me once, and I was like, this is a bit, it seems like a bit immoral, a bit weird, but she was like, I went for a breakup and she was like, you need to get a notepad and you need to write down all the good things about this person and all the bad things. And she was like, be so honest with yourself. I don't want you to hold back. So I wrote it all. And of course, there was way more negative things, because that's why the relationship ended. It wasn't working, and there was a lot of negative things. And it made me realize that I was in my emotions. I was really holding on to the positive things and thinking, oh, this, all that, but we did this, blah, blah, blah. But you really need to get like honest with yourself and just write down the positives and negatives, and just have a look at them and just realize yourself, like, don't stand in your own way when it comes to a breakup.
Yeah, I actually think that in life, like even not in breakups, like in just other things, transitional times in your life where things, circumstances just change. I feel like our mind, like it, it rose tints the past
Yeah.
and makes it, when you look back, makes it seem so much better than it actually was. Like I have done this to myself so many times about so many different things, and it doesn't help any situation when you're trying to make a decision. It just makes you filled with self-doubt. You have to just remind yourself that no, like, because you might, I don't know what it is, but I swear that your mind just looks back at things as if it was all rosy and amazing when actually at the time it wasn't. And that's why you made the decision to do whatever you did, like break up. Like maybe you break up with someone and then a few months, like you're the one that decides to do it, and then a few months down the line you start to look back and you feel a bit lonely because you're single, and you miss that, you miss the good bits, and you kind of like, it's like your mind like just looks back and with rose tinted glasses and views it as like this amazing thing that it wasn't, and then makes it like even harder. So yeah, writing down a list like that, then it's just there in evidence form. There's a few small positives and there's a huge list of negatives, because you don't make choices like for no reason. Like you don't break up with someone for no reason. You don't make a big life choice for no reason. Things always happen for a very good reason. And sometimes actually I think we can play, like our own minds can play tricks on ourselves and make us feel like, yeah, this person's better than they are. That situation was better than it actually was. And like, you just end up just like driving yourself crazy thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. You have to kind of be strict with yourself, I think, when it comes to a breakup and think like, what do you
Mm,
really want? Like we said, do not
yeah.
stand in your own way.
Yeah. And the quote that you always say, which is, um, shut, things that are going to benefit you in the long run don't feel good in the moment, but they're going to feel amazing once it's done and you're further down the line. And then the things that feel great in the moment are the things that are going to not make you feel good in the long run. So what might feel great is starting to speak to your ex again, or deciding to carry on with the relationship and convincing yourself that it's going to be okay, and then long term it's just not, and you just feel crap. But the short term pain of ending something, or just walking away from some situation that wasn't serving you anymore, is really painful in that short moment in the grand scheme of things in your life. But actually long term there's a huge gain for that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like, I feel like breakups are like ripping off a plaster, and I feel like some
Mm,
people really drag it out. Like you can kind of break up with someone and then kind of give into those feelings, and yeah, like you said, chat to them, kind of ease the pain and make yourself feel better. Just have a little conversation, a little phone call. But
mm.
that's just prolonging the length of time you are taking to rip off the plaster. Whereas I think if you just rip it off, it's going to really hurt, and you've gone through the breakup and you're sat in this like pain, and you're like, when is this actually going to feel better? But I think not giving into those feelings and not thinking, oh, this is going to make me feel better. I think the more intense the pain is and the more you wait it out, the quicker it kind of passes.
Yeah, defo.
Yeah. And
And I
then,
also think I'm not, oh, sorry, go on.
no, I don't know.
No. I also think another sign of a relationship when it's not working anymore is that it just always feels hard. I think when anything in life feels hard, it's not right, regardless of whether it's a relationship, a living situation, a job, where you are at university, like anything, a friendship. If it feels difficult, it's not right, because life is not meant to be hard. Like it's meant to be quite free flowing and enjoyable. So if it feels like there's so much resistance around that situation, it's difficult. Obviously, like you can talk things through with people and work it out, but if it's like constantly like that, then that's just also a big sign that it's not, it just isn't good. And when you were saying about how breakups like ripping off a plaster, and like you build yourself up to do it and it's such a big thing, and it's like that short term pain, you pull it off and then it's done, and we like delay doing it. But I also think like people delay actually walking away from something that's toxic because they are scared to like be alone and have that empty space of like no one else being there, or something else to distract you or whatever, or just are scared to be on their own. Like I get it, people don't want to feel lonely, but actually you do yourself more harm because you are constantly just filling up your space, your mental space, the space in your heart, the space in your life. You're just filling it up with something negative that's not good for you. And this advice can be applied to anything. It's not just relationships. But when you're holding on to something that isn't good for you, you just know it's not, and it's just not serving you anymore. But you're holding on to it out of fear of lack, that there's nothing better to come. This is it, and you can't get anything else. You are just kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy for yourself, because the more that you hold on to something, the negative, the more you are just filling up the space that you'd have for something great to come into your life, a new opportunity, a new person, anything. Because you're holding on to the negative thing, that's all. You've got no space for anything else to walk in. So actually being really brave and walking away from somebody that's toxic, finishing a relationship that isn't working anymore, and honoring yourself and just walking away, even though it's incredibly painful, and you're walking away to emptiness because there's nothing else there, and that really scares you. That's actually really amazing to do, because you, through creating space in your life, you by clearing things out like that, even when you've got nothing else to go to, you then have like just emptiness for all the amazing better things to come into your life. But the more you cling on to that negative thing, thinking that nothing else is going to come along and you kind of have to settle and this is all you're going to get, then the longer you're delaying that like amazing person to come into your life, or that amazing job opportunity, or anything like an amazing, like say you lived in a city and you got tired of it and you didn't want to live there anymore, you didn't like it, but you're too scared to move to an amazing new city somewhere because you're too scared to go on your own. So you just cling on to this instead and stay in the place where you know isn't right for you. It's sometimes life is all about taking that risk and that like leap of faith into the unknown and emptiness, because that is where the beauty comes in. That is where that new amazing relationship is going to come in, because you're actually making space for it. Like you're kind of like, let's go woo woo. You're telling the universe that you are open to it, because you're clearing out your life and you're making it possible. If you're like just clinging on to that, or even like it might not even be an actual relationship, like just clinging on to that guy that just gives you crumbs and hardly speaks to you that much and just gives you the bare minimum, but you're just like going along with it, even though you know you deserve better. The longer you do that, the more you're delaying somebody who actually can give you the love that you deserve and you're so worth. The longer you're delaying that person being able to come in, because there's no space for them.
Yeah, love that. We want the cake, not the crumbs. So
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, Florence Given cake crumbs analogy there.
Yeah, I just love that. If you're ever feeling bad, everyone go check out Florence Given regarding a breakup. She is just great.
Yeah.
I also love what you just said about kind of fear, because we always say like if you choose from a place of fear, you're just going to be in a victim mindset, but you need to choose from a place of love and choose love, not fear. Because yeah, that if you have faith and have faith in love and have faith in things working out for you, you're going to choose yourself and you're going to choose kind of like self-love. Whereas if you're just always choosing from fear of loneliness, being alone, you're just going to end up like spiraling and not really knowing what to do. So try and always choose from love and not fear.
Yeah, that's like quite a powerful mantra. Choose love, not fear, and it can be applied to all areas of your life. And the more that you choose from a place of fear, you're choosing from a place of lack, the more lack you're going to get as a result. Like, but if you're choosing from love, then you're choosing with confidence that you know you deserve amazing things and you're going to get it, and you will get it, because what you think, your life inside, your outer reality reflects that back. And if you're just thinking in fear-based mindset all the time, scared to leave this person because you've got nobody else or anything like that, then that's what you're going to get. And I know that obviously like some people might be in a really difficult situation when they're in a very toxic relationship and they're kind of financially relied on this person, and they're in like a seriously tied up living situation with them, and there's always a way out, and you just have to like hatch a plan and choose you, because you deserve better, and just move on, even if it's scary, even if there's nothing else there for you. You're leaving a lot, like you feel like you're leaving a lot behind. You just have to do it, because otherwise there's no space for anything good to come into your life when you're just filling it up with negativity.
Yeah. I feel like there was so much juicy inspiration there, but we're also going to leave you with some really practical tips, because, you know, we always like to give those nice practical tips you can apply. So to begin with, we're just going to talk a bit about how, well, we've discussed it already, but how when a breakup comes, it's a great time to really build that relationship with yourself. And I think one of the most powerful things can definitely be journaling. And it's something you probably will not want to do. Like when you're feeling really rubbish after a breakup and you just want to kind of feel better, the last thing you want to do is probably sit there and journal. But it is going to benefit you so much. Like, I cannot even tell you. I think it's probably the best time to start journaling if you don't already, because you're really going to improve on that relationship with yourself, because you're going to learn how to comfort yourself. You're going to read back on journal entries and realize that you were telling yourself exactly what you needed to hear. And I think that's also
Mm.
building like that kind of like best friend relationship with yourself. Like, yes, it's really good to have amazing friends around you, but knowing that you can really comfort yourself and like be your own cheerleader and just tell you that everything's okay, that is so powerful. So definitely the first tip would be to start journaling every day and write down how you're feeling. If you feel really rubbish, write I feel really rubbish, and write why you feel rubbish. If you miss them, write why you miss them. If you're having feeling that you want to go back to them, write that down. Just write everything that's in your mind out, because I think after a breakup is a really time where your thoughts are just all over the place. Like, you're probably not even thinking rationally, and you just kind of like you'll spend a lot of time just sat there thinking. And I think just writing it out is so therapeutic, just to get it out of your mind and onto a piece of paper.
Yeah, I love consistently journaling because I just think it's absolutely amazing to look back at how far you've come, because
Mm.
we are with ourselves every day, so we don't notice the shifts and the big growth and the changes, because we're just hanging out with ourselves every day, so you don't notice it as much. But like, having a journal is, especially to journal through a transitional time, a difficult time like a breakup, is so empowering, because you can look back and be like, wow, look how far I've come. And then when you're again in another difficult situation in your life, you think, yeah, but look how far I came in that in the face of that adversity, I came so far. And you just build that trust with yourself, that best friend relationship with yourself, that bond with yourself, that yeah, you can soothe yourself, you can say exactly what you need to hear. And I think journaling as well is like a great way to kind of be honest with yourself, because nobody else is gonna, like, you're not speaking to anyone, you're just talking to you. No one else is going to read it, it's private, and you can just be really honest and spill it all onto a page. And exactly, like, process your thoughts, because they probably are going to be all over the place. And you also might be holding on to quite a lot of sort of regret from the relationship if it's ended, because it might have ended because they've decided to break up with you, rather than what we were saying before, that you've exited it yourself. It might have not actually been your choice, and you know that pain can be even more difficult to deal with. But so you might be holding a lot of regret and thinking, what did I do during this relationship? What did I do that was wrong that maybe caused this? And you can really be holding a lot of judgment against yourself. And journaling is an amazing way to drop all that onto a page and release it, and just really work on that relationship with yourself of letting go. Because I've realized something that I've found incredibly profound and pivotal recently, that I think definitely applies to breakups. And that's because I always think about self-love, and I think that you never stop on your self-love journey. Like, there's not an end. Like, you can never love yourself like too much, and there's always, you're constantly growing. Like, you never stop developing and being better. And when I've been thinking about this, part of self-love, I think, is all the things that you've done in the past, every mistake you might have made, every experience you've had, every decision you've ever made, good or bad. You have to honor and love all of those past experiences, because they are what have made you who you are today. So if you're sitting there and thinking, this person broke up with me and I feel really regretful about how I behaved or things that I did, and I'm judging myself so hard for it, and you're not forgiving yourself, and you're not letting yourself move on, you're just constantly in a state of self-rejection, and nothing good comes out of that. Everything good comes out of self-love. That's career, friendships, relationships, everything stems from your self-love, your worthiness. So you're constantly in like a state of self-rejection if you are not accepting things that you've done in the past and decisions that you've made. You aren't loving yourself, because everything that you've done in the past, everything that's happened to you, you have to honor that. You have to accept it, love it, forgive yourself for it if it's something bad, because it's what shaped you to become who you are right now in this exact minute that you're listening to this podcast. Who you are right now is the result of everything that you've done in the past. Obviously, like your true nature, but also everything, all the experience you've had that shaped you. And that's why you can't live with regret or hold on to things or judge yourself about things, because you then just aren't loving yourself, like, because they are what made you who you are now. So to fully love who you are right now, you've got to make peace with all of that as well. So I think, that's something that I found incredibly profound in the last few weeks, that I've kind of like, it was like a bit of a penny drop moment for me. And I think that it definitely applies massively to breakups. If you spend a lot of time afterwards thinking, I could have done this, and maybe this would have been a different outcome, and if I hadn't behaved this way and if this hadn't happened, then maybe we'd still be together, and you're just going to drive yourself insane, and you're just in a constant state of self-rejection, and nothing great is going to come out of that. So 100% make peace as well with the past and anything that you've done. You always make the best choices. You do everything that you do, you are doing, even if you think now that you don't agree with what you did and it wasn't right, or you didn't make the right choice, you're doing the best with what you knew at that point, and you have to just honor yourself for that and love that, because that is part of you.
Yeah, that was very beautiful. That reminded me actually of I think it was a podcast with Glennon Doyle, and she literally explained just that, but I actually think you explained it even better. But yeah, she was basically saying the same thing, and she was just saying how important it is to not judge those past experiences. Like, even if it's something you think back on and you like cringe about it and you're like, why did I do that? Yeah, you can't judge it, because that made you who you are. And like you said, you were just doing your best at the time. Like, no matter what, when you make a decision, you're always just doing what you can at that time. So you can't judge your past with that.
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely like literally drove myself mental thinking, oh, I could have done that better, or if I had done this, this outcome wouldn't have happened, and I can't believe that I allowed this to happen. And actually, you get the moment's past, it's done, you get nothing out of that. All you're doing is rejecting yourself. And I'm like constantly trying to cultivate more self-love in my life every single day, because it's so important. And that was just something that I realized, and I was like, wow, I need to stop doing that, because I'm just rejecting myself, I'm rejecting my past, I'm just rejecting who I am right now, because that made me who I am. So you just have to honor everything you've done, and just fully honor yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to the journaling, one other tip we have for you is to write a letter to the person you broke up with, and write it like so deeply from your soul, like literally pour everything onto paper. Even if you probably wouldn't feel comfortable saying it to their face or sending it, just write everything. Do not hold back. Because I can actually say I literally tried this, and I couldn't believe how much better I felt the next day. Like, I really felt so much better after writing this letter. And then, yeah, you don't have to send it if you don't want. If it's like really personal, if you said things you don't actually want them to read, you don't have to send it, or you can send it and let them know how you feel. But really, like, getting honest with yourself and writing down those things that you might not even say aloud, I think it's just so good for just creating like clarity. It just feels like all the things that swirling around your head are kind of like lifted out, and you can just think clearly again.
Yeah, it's seriously powerful. I have done it quite a few times, written letters to different people in my life where something negative's happened, but I've never actually like sent it to them, and it is so powerful. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, it's as if you're actually saying that to them. It's the same kind of like weight lifted feeling, and you just feel so much more at peace, and it's so much easier to move on. It's an incredibly pivotal thing that you can do if you're stuck in a like kind of like rut of a post breakup rut, or anything, or any kind of negativity you're holding on to anyone in your life. Writing them a letter and not sending it is so powerful. So that is some seriously good advice there. So definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just such a release. And next, our next tip would be to surround yourself with really good friends with good intentions, because I think sometimes after a breakup, obviously you want to be around friends, but it's actually really easy to isolate yourself and kind of withdraw from social situations and think, I just want to feel better before I go into the world, which is fine. And I think you definitely do need the time alone, like we said. But being around people that aren't in like a kind of upset state, you can like feed off their energy. If someone's in a good mood and you're not so much, you can go to that friend, ask them for guidance, ask them for support. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because when everyone's been in like that horrible breakup situation, all you really need is support and guidance. And like I said, just make sure that you're getting it from the right people as well. If someone says something to you and you think that is really not benefiting my healing right now, and that's not going to help me get to where I want to be on this journey, then don't associate with that person, because your healing is the most important thing. And if they are not in alignment with that and they're not saying the right things, then you really just shouldn't entertain it. You should really just be around the people that you know are going to tell you it as it is and literally not sugarcoat anything, and be that kind of
Mm.
level head. Like we were saying before, when you've been through a breakup, your emotions are all over the place and you're not really at a level place and you can't really think rationally. Whereas someone like a good friend that you can confide in and ask for advice, they can see it from the outside and they can see the negatives, they can see the positives, but they can be that level head for you. So don't be afraid to ask for help and to ask for that level head, because it's so hard when you've just been through the breakup.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in the same way where, 100% surround yourself with great friends, positive people that lift you up, also don't distract yourself with like other people, as in don't move on straight away and start dating somebody else as a distraction from having to actually sit with the pain of what's just happened. Because I think so many people do that, and I think they actually probably do it really unconsciously. It's like a unconscious self-preservation technique to like protect you from the pain, is to just distract. And what way to distract the pain of a heartbreak? By going and dating somebody else and getting like love and attention from them instead. But actually all you do is just shift the pain from that breakup into this new relationship. You never heal from it, and you'll never grow from it, and it'll just stay with you. Like you need to just sit through, not distract yourself, and sit with the pain of what is coming up for you and allow it to flow through you. Don't resist it. Just let it be there. Time will heal. It will just dissipate as you do, journaling, looking after yourself, hanging out with good friends, all the stuff we've just said. It will eventually go, but don't run away from that horrible immediate pain, because you need to go through that for it to pass. Like, you cannot push down any emotion in your life and think it's just going to go. You have to allow it to flow through you, otherwise it's never going to go. So even though it can be incredibly painful, that is what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think as well, when you ignore the pain and maybe say move on to somebody else straight away, it's further down the line that those insecurities from probably the past relationship will
Mm,
creep up. They'll just creep up on
yeah.
you because you've not healed. You've just moved on way too quickly. And even though in the short run it felt much better to get distracted and go into somebody new, in the long run you're gonna cause more pain for yourself. So it is really important to
Yeah.
choose yourself and choose your inner healing before you move on.
Yeah, because we show up in relationships in the current state that we're in, and if you're like incredibly heartbroken and a bit all over the place and you're going into a new relationship, then it potentially is not going to end that well, because you're going to bring that baggage from that last relationship that you haven't healed from if you just jump straight into a new one. And then that's just going to be double pain for you, because you're going to have to deal with the first one and the second one if this next one you jump to doesn't work. And it's just going to be short-term pleasure for a long-term pain, whereas you just need to do it the other way around. You need to do short-term pain for seriously long-term gain.
Yeah. And onto our next tip is it's kind of related to what I was saying about surrounding yourself with like positive people that have good intentions. It's the same as we always relate back to our social media, because it's something we spend a lot of time on. We can't get away from it. It's kind of anything we kind of digest and spend a lot of time doing each day is really gonna, it kind of implements into our subconscious more than we even realize it. So
Mm,
in terms of like your Instagram, for example, if you have just been through a breakup and you're upset, try and follow people that kind of like interrupt your negative thoughts and make you think, no, I can do this. Like, I can fully do it. Like we mentioned before, Florence Given, we always talk about her
Mm.
because she is so like she's so straight to the point. Like if I'm actually stuck at something, I think in my head like, what would Florence Given do? Like I actually do because she, even though obviously she's not, she's still human. Like she obviously has her weak points, but I just think she's so like cutthroat on stuff, especially with breakups. And she really just makes you think like, just get out of my own way, just get on with it, get out of
Yeah.
my own way. And she just interrupts your thoughts. So I think following people like her, and there's so many other accounts that will make you feel a lot better about a breakup and situations like that. Like filling your feed with stuff like that is going to really benefit you instead of maybe like watching loads of like rom-coms and crying.
Yeah, or like following couple goals people on Instagram. That's not going to
Yeah.
help you in that current situation. And yeah, like what you view on social media, if it's like upsetting you, triggering you, making you feel emotional, it's just going to bring your vibe down so much more. And you have the control over what you follow. So rejig it to be more suited to what is the kind of information you need to be hearing right now that is going to make you feel better, not worse. Oh, and also probably another good bit of advice is to like stop stalking them on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm sure that after any kind of like something that's ended with animosity. I mean, you might have a breakup where you kind of like part ways and it's okay, but even like with friendships and stuff, just anything that kind of ends in a bit of a not great way, is something's come to an end. You're always are tempted to like go and look and see what that person's up to, but that is just going to make you feel so much worse as well. So just don't do that. Like if you have to, block them
Mm.
or mute them. Like you can mute people on now so they don't need to be offended that you've removed them, but they won't even know that you've done that. But for your own sanity, I feel like most people would definitely need to do that after a breakup because I feel like everybody just goes for a little stalk.
Yeah, I 100% just think block them. Like, I think it's the most beneficial thing because, like, why would you want
Block.
to? Yeah, like it is so tempting to go and look maybe at their stuff, or they might see yours. And I just don't think it's good for healing. If you're like parting ways with
Mm,
someone and they're exiting your life, then they should exit your social media 100%.
yeah.
I think you should just block them. And even if you feel rude, if it's been like a very nice breakup, just say, I'm sorry, but this is best for my healing. I need space. I don't want to see your stuff. I don't think you should see mine. And I think blocking is the best solution.
Yeah, because I feel like it's that is going to be so you seeing them when you know it's late down the line, you kind of like moved on. You seeing them is like a constant little reminder. And what I was saying before about how if you're not at peace with your past, so you're not confident in the choices that you've made, and you're just thinking regret, self doubt, doubting things, and that's it, you're then just in living in that self rejection. And that's the same thing with social media. Like if you've moved on, it's been a while since you broke up, but you still got them on social media and you see something they're doing and you think, oh, you know, we probably would have done that together, or maybe like we could have, or something. You might just think, start slipping back into those thoughts of rose tinted past. Oh, it could have worked out if I hadn't done this or this hadn't happened. And again, you're just going to be back in that self rejection mode. And that is just so not great for anyone. It's not going to get you anywhere. So, yeah, 100%. I think you're right. Even if you have ended amicably and it's not ended really horribly, just remove them anyway because it's just not healthy. If you're parting ways, exiting each other's lives for a reason, then 100% social media needs to be the same.
Yeah. And while we're on social media, I think as well, fill in your feed with positive things, like I said. But I think Pinterest is a huge one. Like Pinterest quotes for me are like absolute therapy. Like I remember they literally are. I don't understand people that like I have some friends that are like, oh, quotes are doing my head in a bit. I'm like, you joking? I love a good quote.
Yeah, I
And
love a quote.
yeah, like when I'm like really in like if I'm feeling like in despair and I'm quite upset or something, I will literally go on Pinterest and type what I'm upset about, and then I'll read quotes that like inspire me on that. It sounds crazy, but I think it's so beneficial. Like, it's so good because you're just reading all these positive quotes, and some of them as well. Like when we were looking today, like some of them are really touching, and it kind of
Yeah.
takes you back to yourself, and you just think, oh, I have actually really got this, and it makes you feel better. So if you're struggling with like what to fill your feed with, definitely go on Pinterest and look at some really lovely quotes that are going to uplift you.
Yeah, and quotes are usually by some great wise person. Otherwise, they wouldn't be being quoted. Like, it's not just like they're usually from somebody who's got a great mindset and a great way of thinking. So they're always an amazing nugget of information. Like, I love good quotes, especially when it's like really about something that you're going through. It just hits so much harder.
Yeah, it hits differently. And then when you keep the board, you know, like when you keep board of like your quotes, and then when I scroll down, I can see like different points in my life, and I'm like, I can tell from what I was pinning what I was going through, and it's like another form of a journal, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Love quote. But that brings us on to our quote of the week, and we actually found so many good quotes to do with breakups. We picked two, but even out of picking two, there were so many others that we wanted to say. But I feel like when you're going through a breakup, you just need all the quotes you can get. So we're going to share two with you today. Okay, so the first one is: life changes, you lose love, you lose friends, you lose pieces of yourself that you never imagined would be gone. And then, without you even realizing it, these pieces come back. New love enters, better friends come along, and a stronger, wiser you is staring back in the mirror. No matter how bad it gets, better days are always waiting, hoping you'll make it there to accept the smiles and the joy they're offering.
Oh,
I've got shivers. That quote, I think is, I think it's so nice. Like it's just, and I think it sums up your early 20s and the point of finding your feet in life. I think it sums that up so well because even when it says like life changes, you lose love, you lose friends, you lose pieces of yourself that you never thought would be gone. It's so true. Like it's a transitional time. You change. You might even like grieve the old version of yourself at certain points of your life. You don't stay friends with everybody. People come into your life for a season, for a reason, or to stay for a long time. Like it's then people aren't just going to be here all the time. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses. But I think sometimes, like as you grow from being a child into an adult, you think that it is going to all be sunshine and roses, and then it's not. And it can be difficult to deal with, but that's where you build up your strength. And like it says in this quote, no matter how bad it gets, the better days are always coming and they're waiting for you to show up and enjoy them in a happy, joyful state. So, I just love it so much.
I love it too. I felt a bit emotional when you was reading it. I think it's all about faith, isn't it? Like it says, you lose
Yeah,
it, but just have the faith that it will get better.
yeah, so nice. And the second quote is just a little short, snappy one. Letting go is hard, but being free is beautiful. So that kind of like relates to what we were saying about toxic traits in relationships and what are the signs and everything that I was saying, that the more you hold on to a negative situation, the less space that you have for something amazing to come into your life. So yeah, it'll be difficult to let go, but you freeing yourself is what's going to bring so much beauty into your life. And it's worth the fear and the short-term pain of doing it.
Yeah, stunning. I think we had so many beautiful tips and heartwarming moments in this
Yeah.
episode. This is the episode I needed after a breakup, but I really hope this is going to inspire all our finders.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We really hope this inspired you in some way. And if you are going through a breakup, we really hope that this kind of soothed you and gave you some inspiration on how to take the next step forward.
Yeah. I hope that if you are going through it, as difficult as it probably is, you this episode reminds you of like the inner strength that you have to get through it and that there is better things to come. But thank you so much for listening, everybody. And if you enjoyed it, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us so that you never miss an episode. We release them every single Wednesday. And if you enjoyed listening to this, but you also love to watch your podcasts on YouTube and see the video as well and feel like you're really in the room in the conversation, we put all of our episodes on YouTube now as well. So go and subscribe to our channel. It's Finding Your Feet, the podcast. We will link it in the show notes so that you can go and check us out on there. And as always, come and follow us on Instagram. Come and join our community. That is where we're going to be posting those stunning quotes that we've just read out to you. Come and join our community on Instagram as well.
Yeah, come on, follow us on Instagram. We love chatting with you all. We love interacting with you, seeing what you have to say. So give us a follow and give us a message if you want to chat.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.